Meeting, if you would, please silence your mobile devices. What is it? Hey, Allison. Could you-
Okay.
At this time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. Have here on the dais with us District 2, Donna Renee Anderson. We have District 3, Mayor Ronnie Velasquez. We have District 4, Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem. And we have District 5, Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. We do have a quorum, so we'll continue with our meeting. At this time, I'll ask Donna Renee to please lead us in invocation. If you would please remain standing for the pledges.
Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, thank you for bringing us here together tonight as we ask for your wisdom, your knowledge, and your understanding to do the work that you have asked us to do. Let us hear with your ears, see with your eyes, and speak with your lips. Give us peace this evening, and bless this gathering and those who are also in attendance. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, our next item on the agenda is mayor and council community recognitions and events. Council, I'll start with recognizing a individual from Terrell who is in the rodeo circuit, who's accomplished some really phenomenal things. And we know that it's through hard work and dedication, just like any sport, that you're able to be successful in what you do. So at this time, Tyler Wade, would you please come forward? So I have a proclamation in your honor. It is from the mayor and the city council, and it's a proclamation that reads, whereas Tyler Wade, son of Jerry and Raylyn Wade, is a second-generation team roper, and whereas Tyler, a native of Terrell, has been competing in rodeo since he was a child, and whereas Tyler was named Rookie of the Year by the United Professional Rodeo Association in 2008, and whereas Tyler was named the Resistol PRCA Team Roping Heading Rookie of the Year in 2012, and whereas Tyler has placed in the top 20 in team roping header world standings 8 of the past 12 years. And whereas Tyler has qualified for the National Finals Rodeo 7 times, 3 times in the top 20, and has career earnings totaling $1.8 million. And whereas Tyler and his partner Wesley Thorpe won the 2023 PRCA Team Roping World Championship in Las Vegas. And whereas Tyler and his partner returned to the Team Roping World Championship in December of 2024 and came back with a second win. And whereas Tyler travels across the country competing and winning in multiple rodeos, and whereas Tyler and his wife Jessie have 2 children, Weston and Waylon? Winland. I'm sorry. Winland. Now, therefore, I, by the authority vested in me as mayor and on behalf of the Terrell City Council, do hereby proclaim January 21 of 2025 as Tyler Wade Day in the city of Terrell, and encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing and honoring this Terrell resident and 2-time world champion for his continued success as a professional rodeo athlete. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the corporate seal of the city of Terrell, Texas, to be affixed this, the 21st day of January of 2025. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, you did? How are you? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we do have a presentation for you. We weren't sure if the kids were gonna be here, but we got cookies, right? And they're very good with milk at night. I promise you, they'll love those. So, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You. So next, again, we'll continue with the community recognition and events. Last night there was an event at the high school, and unfortunately I wasn't able to attend. I was trying to get my grandkids back to East Texas, but it was to honor Martin Luther King Jr., who was born on January the 15th of 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He graduated from high school at the age of 16 and received a BA degree from Morehouse College in Atlanta in 1948. Mr. King became a Baptist minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church, following in his father's and grandfather's footsteps. He graduated from Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania in 1951 and received a doctorate from Boston University in 1955. Dr. King became pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama in 1954. He became a member of the executive committee of the NAACP. He married Coretta Scott and had 2 sons and 2 daughters. Dr. King helped organize the 1963 March on Washington, where he delivered his most famous I Have a Dream speech. He also won the Nobel Prize in 1964 for combating racial inequity through nonviolent resistance. Dr. King was assassinated in April the 4th of 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. President Ronald Reagan signed a bill in 1983 making the 3rd Monday in January a federal holiday in honor of Mr. King's legacy. The holiday was first observed 3 years later on January the 20th of 1986. So with all that, I just wanted to take a moment and recognize the fact that Dr. Martin Luther King was an exceptional man. We honor him every year, and hated that I wasn't able to be at the event, but I think our Councilwoman Mayrani Velasquez was there. Do you want to share anything with us?
It was great, as always, each year that the event is put on by the MLK Junior Celebration of Terrell. It was great. It was really great to see both our faith community coming together, students from the school district, Poetry Christian School, dance groups throughout the city of Terrell that came forth together and just in the celebration of freedom, unity, and much more. But really, the kids stole the show. But it's always great to be there. And I also want to recognize that a couple of leaders that are in the room today. Of course, we have our council members, Donna Renee and Stephanie Holmes Thomas, but we also have members from the Breezy Hill community, a group here today, the association. We have like Ms. Deborah Kelly. We have previous board members in the room, and like Zan is in the room. I can't see you all the way back there sometimes because of the podium there, but I also want to recognize them, and I think it would be also a good opportunity to. Was that a proclamation that we had?
No, it was just some notes that I had.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we did have a proclamation, but I don't have it with me. It's already.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? I do want to. Does anybody else have anything? No. I want to take a moment and earlier today, Donna Renee and I were at the Terrell Police Station where we recognized the pinning of 2 new rookies for the city of Terrell. We have our police chief with us today. Would you like to come forward and then introduce those to the council, please?
Some time ago, we started a new tradition to make sure that we put faces with names, and you guys get to be familiar with our new staff members. So today, we bring you these 2 mammoth guys here. They made me look really short. This is Joseph Seha, and this is Seth Harrington. They were graduates of the Regional Police Academy today, and then we did their pinning of the badge ceremony this afternoon at the PD. So we're pleased to have them both and look forward to great things from these 2 gentlemen.
Great.
Welcome, welcome.
All right. Thank you all very much. Our next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. I do have some requests to speak. Let's start with Ms. McNutt. Would you please come forward? Zane, who? Or I have, or Deborah Kelly. It doesn't matter. Whoever. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Zamberlin Spencer McNutt, and my address is 121 Mellon Street. Is my physical address, P.O. Box 293, 2037, Terrell, Texas is my mailing address. I come tonight on behalf of myself, a community member, and members from District 2, as well as also a member from the P&Z committee, a commissioner. I want to speak to the item we have 5.1 regarding the zoning for the property, housing, and the things we talked about in the workshop on last week. A little contrary to my peer that's on the P&Z panel, we were all had a unanimous vote, but there was some discussion, which is a public record, and you could look back and see and look at that information you have. My concern, and I want to express them and help them here, is I, at 121 Mellon Street, live in a nice, I think very nice, 1,300 square foot home that suits the need for me and my husband, and it's what we need. It's practical for our use and everything. And so with that said, after the things that were brought up in the workshop last week, I really didn't realize it was going to be in the early workshop, or I would have said it then. But speaking with others, some in my community, my neighborhood, just about every house in my neighborhood is about that same square foot, or 1,400 square feet. My neighbors across the street, except for my mother and father's home. But speaking with my mother, who is an elderly, retired person now, and her voice and sentiments were, if she was to now want to go and build her a nice new home on properties that she has, she, of course, would be looking at something around that same range, 1,300 square foot, maybe even smaller, with a two-bedroom, just something what they need that they could afford, and also not so much that they could afford, but that they can manage and maintain. Anyone who's been a homeowner, as well as affording a house, now you got to maintain the yard, you got to do your utilities, the heating and cooling, as all of us are experiencing, I'm sure right now, your heating and cooling or your heating is astronomical. And so those kind of things, as well as some single people that I talked with said, they have property that's maybe been given to them from family members, what have you. They might want to build a nice, quaint little home, not a massive, home. So just talking to various people. So I want to bring that viewpoint about as well, because it's not just people maybe who can't afford it, or people who are low income or criminals or what have you, but everybody doesn't want or desire a huge house. And I don't think as a city we should mandate that or require that people have that. I know Councilmember Phil Robinson, you said that when you have your community meetings, that doesn't come up. Maybe because in your community, people are not needing affordable housing. But I can tell you that every community meeting that we've had in District 2 with the current city council member and previous with Grady, that was the first item that was on the agenda, was affordable housing for the city, for our area. I love my district. I like my community. I love the houses that are there. I really like the houses that my peer, Miss Deborah Kelly, brought up those pictures before. People would be proud to live in some of those little houses that she brought up. They were nice houses. I think that if we go too far and require so many requirements, we already require the facade and what it has to look like and how far and all these different things on it. If we go so far, what about those people who have dreams of what they want their little first house to look like or whatever? Now they got to come and check the city with every little thing that they can do for their house and how they have to build it and in what space and what have you. I think, guys, we don't have to dictate everything that people have to do for their home. I understand we have to have standards, minimum standards, but why make it so large and grandiose? Let's give people an opportunity to decide and say what they may want. Size does not dictate quality. Size does not dictate quality. I've seen a lot of, if you drive around Terrell, you have some nice, new, little, just small houses. And it doesn't dictate the quality of the house. My house is a very good quality house at 1,300 square feet. If it was just me by myself, I may even would downsize because I have 2 extra rooms, maybe one be an office or something, but that I just don't need that because it's an old house with large rooms. So I don't see the need that we need to dictate, a large house. I'm in agreement with the 1,100 square foot myself, and my mom says she would love a nice little new 11 square foot brick home that she could just make real quaint. If we go so far, what's going to come up next? We have to tell people what kind of grass they can put in the yard, what kind of bushes, flowers they can plant. How far are we going to go with this? Okay? That's my question. We just really need to watch how much we're talking about keeping government out of our, regulating everything. Guys, how far are we going to go with that? Okay, a minimum standards, let's make a minimum, but let's don't make it where it really encroaches on people that, and on the flip side, we had the other chart where you guys talked about what people can afford in town. We have to look at our socioeconomics of the people that we service here in the city of Terrell. And I hate to say it, but a lot of people in South Terrell and even in North Terrell, they can't afford a big, 1,600, 2,000 square foot home. They just can't. So what do we want those people to do? Push them out? Then we're going to have a homeless situation that y'all say we don't have, but we have. So that's my comments.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next, Deborah Kelly.
Good evening, Council. I'm Deborah Kelly. My address is 100 North Canton Street. I'm here because I have passion for this city. I'm not running for public office. I'm not being paid. I'm staying in my little house. A lot of us old folks are not trying to move because it's paid for and we're not trying to acquire a new mortgage. So let that be for the record that I have no hidden agenda. Nobody can build next to me, but I'm concerned about the people that are living in some of these, quote, affordable houses and how they're not so affordable. I'm not talking about individual people. So for my colleague that just spoke before me, she's got it twisted. I said corporate America and investors. Do not amend ordinance number 3080. Just, you allow variance for individuals. I know you do. If someone has a small lot, they come before the municipal development. They work with them according to whatever standards that need to be, waived. I know that's been done. It was done with me when I built my home. And I know it's been said that you go to Home Depot and you get the same quality. Everybody knows that that's not the same. I've been to Home Depot. You can go get linoleum. I have granite. They put vinyl planks on the floors. I have wood planks. So we know that you can go into these stores and still get different quality of stuff. My argument 2 weeks ago was that if an individual want to build a house, let them. That's what she was talking about, individual. I said corporate America. If you build a lot of small houses, you can rest assured, investors and corporate America, those houses left standing just because somebody they build them doesn't mean somebody's going to pass, able to get a housing loan. I mean, there's all kind of things you have to do to get a house. So just because you build affordable houses does not mean somebody's going to get them. And in my neighborhood, right now, 22 houses have been built. 2 of them were just recently finished last month. 5 of them are right now on the market. One guy's moving because he said he did not like the 1-car garage, not enough parking. He didn't like the on-street parking. I'm sure I don't know why he didn't research it before he bought it, but that's none of my business. But he moved in the house in 2000. He's no longer there. These young ladies right here live in so-called affordable houses in Stallings Addition, paying $2,500 a month. That's not affordable. These builders and investors will not, hear me, will not reduce the price of their houses to accommodate anybody because they're not going to get their money's worth. We all know that it is what it is. And if you leave these little houses standing, what's going to happen? They're going to swoop in and they're going to let other folks get in them, and they're not going to be well maintained. That's my major concern. Over 423 houses in the state of Texas are owned by corporate America. And those homes, or most of them, are Section 8. They're not being maintained. That's my issue with it. What an individual does is none of my business. I don't care about her mom or her building a house. That's okay. That's an individual. I'm saying don't allow these investors in corporate America to come in here. They don't care about Terrell. They don't even live in Terrell. They'll build those little shanty houses and put them on the market and let somebody rent them out. That's my concern. And it will affect District 2 and District 3. That is not fair to us. We're looking at better quality homes. Those little houses that she said that I brought pictures, sure, I brought them. People, they are nice. They live in one of them. But backflow is coming. Every time it rains, they can't flush their toilets because of sewage coming through into their lines. They can't take a shower in fear of the rain the sewage coming into their homes. That's ridiculous. Whereas the investor, the builder, he lives probably in the Frisco Allen area. Do you think he care? You know what he's doing to them? Every time they call for repairs, they had a 1-year warranty. He kept pushing it back, pushing it back. Now their warranty has expired. So now they are stuck with a house that had raw sewage inside it, damaged carpet, damaged cabinets, and all of that. The structural damage, another house at 320, already cracking. I've been in my house 40 years almost. Don't have any issues with it because it was built with quality. That's what I'm talking about. People coming in building cheap houses. When they go to Home Depot, they getting stuff in bulk, and half of them's not even going to Home Depot. They getting it from some other lumber company, getting it in bulk. You think they're checking out the quality of wood? No, they're not. They're not. So affordable, whatever that number is that you're trying to get, they're not making any more $100-some thousand houses. Those days are over with. It's 200,000 and up. If you can get one here for 250, you're lucky. Because even in Stalls Edition, they're $265,000. It is ridiculous what these builders and developers are charging for rent. 1,600 square feet, if that person chooses to do that, that's them. But if you want to build 1,100, that's you. But do not change this, ordinance number 3080, to appease the builders and developers. They are going to run on this, and you can see a whole lot of these little houses coming up. That's what I'm talking about, not individuals. An individual can do whatever they want. That's their property, and I know that's not what you guys are trying to do for an individual. I think this is like, this ordinance applies to everybody, builders and developers. I'm saying don't allow them to do it. Don't allow them to be stuck like these two young ladies. Would you guys stand up, please? They've only been in that house 1 year, and they're stuck paying $2,500 a month with damage, sewage in their homes. So unfair to them. It is not right. And you call that affordable? See how they take advantage of people? That's what I'm saying. I see it in my community. People being taken advantage of. And I don't want that to happen. What an individual wants, let them build whatever they want. But don't change this ordinance to appease those builders and developers and affect our city. We're progressive. We're not going backwards. We know what they'll do to us. The bait and switch. I've been on council before. Show you one picture, then they go build something else. That's what they will do. I spoke with people in District 2, 3, 4, and 5. They don't want it. They do not want it. I have family in all districts in the city of Terrell and friends, and I had an opportunity to visit with them. They don't want it. So I don't know who my colleagues have been speaking to, but the people that I spoke to said no, and I'm speaking on their behalf. No. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Did we have anybody else? Okay. Our next item on the agenda is boards and commissions. At this time, we'll discuss and consider reappointments to the facilities naming committee. This will be handled by our Assistant City Manager, Mark Mills.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I do not have a presentation for you this evening. We do have a 9-member board, which is the City Facility Naming Committee. Currently, we have 8 members that have been appointed to the board. We do have 1 vacancy, and we're coming to you this evening to entertain an appointment from you all if you have one. The one position that is open would be appointed by Councilwoman Holmes Thomas.
Council, does anybody have any questions for Mark? No? Do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I finally got feedback. I'd like to appoint a young lady by the name of Tasha Ellis.
Okay.
Oh, I make a motion to appoint to the naming committee Tasha Ellis.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from Donna Renee Anderson, District 2, to appoint Tasha Ellis to our Facilities Naming Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is item 5, discuss and consider ordinance number 3080, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, amending Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell as set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part of hereof for all purposes, providing for severability and providing an effective date. This is going to be handled by our Assistant Director of Municipal Development, Downtown Project Manager, Raylan Smith.
Y'all ready to pass the zoning ordinance tonight?
We'll see.
That's the goal, right? Oh,
Yes.
that helps, yes. There we go. Okay. Just to kind of recap a little bit, your packet tonight includes all of the changes. The few pages that we're going to go over, I think, are the 2 things that we left with during our last city council meeting, which is the FS6, where we were talking about the square footage, And then also, I have marked through the improved surface requirement for mobile food units. So if there's any additional sections that y'all want to review, they're all inside the packet, but for right now, we'll kind of concentrate on just those two items that we left off with. One thing that I did want to bring your attention to was we did have an exhibit prepared for SF6 based upon the regulation, how we had discussed it in that C2B, which is going to be the infill redevelopment. So as we're talking about the number of parking spaces, the size of the driveways, et cetera, this kind of gives you an overview or a bird's eye view of what that property would look like. When we get down to the actual verbiage of the ordinance, this is shown with a 1,300 square foot residence on the property, and so if there are any adjustments based on your recommendations, we will make sure that the exhibit reflects that change. So that, as far as SF6, that was the new information that I wanted to bring to your attention, and then see if there were any questions moving forward as we narrow down the square footage.
So I was reading the ordinance, and I don't think I've said this in the past, but I really do appreciate the work that you and your staff do.
Absolutely.
Putting all of this together. I want to get that, I want to say that. So I was reading through the ordinance, and as I understand it, if a small house under 1,300 square feet exists on the lot, and a person wants to put a house on the lot, take the old house down, so it will be 1,100 square feet as is, rebuilt, or it can be bigger.
Yes.
I noticed that was in the red section.
Yes, so that's number 3, your non-conforming redevelopment. So if you are reconstructing an existing structure that is deemed non-conforming as of Section 7, then they are able to reconstruct or repair that same size structure.
Okay. And if a person wants to build on an infill lot that is vacant, does it have to be 1,300 square feet?
It does not have to be. We're giving, the ordinance will give minimum requirements.
Okay.
So we're saying at a minimum, it can be much larger, but we're saying that the minimum size would be 1,300.
And if I only have money for 1,100, can we negotiate?
At any point, if there is a section in the zoning ordinance that someone is wanting to apply for a variance, one avenue is that you would file a variance application, and that would go before our zoning board of adjustment. Now, keep in mind that that board does not make recommendations to city council, so that decision would stand. So that's not a recommending board, but that is the board that the municipal development staff uses for variances.
Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Yes, ma'am.
If they weren't happy with it, Raylan, I'm sorry, Council, I just want to make sure for your clarity. If they were turned down by that zoning board, could they still petition the city, or they
They actually petition
has to go to
the county court at law.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes to the county.
Okay, just want to clarify.
Can we also make sure we clarify the issue that under state law, so this isn't the city of Terrell, this is state law. The only grounds for ZBA are hardship-related grounds. Because of the way the state law is written, they do not define money as a hardship. They define things like an odd occurrence on the lot, or a flood easement on the lot, or that sort of thing. So it'd be really
That were mentioned in the ordinance.
exactly. So ZBA would not be able to say, we think that this person shouldn't have to spend that much money on that topic. They can only address things that are related to
oh gosh, we want to preserve a tree on that site, or the setback can't be that deep because there's a alley back there, or whatever that might be. Those are the sorts of things that lawfully can go to ZBA.
Okay, so
What
the,
we've seen most of, Councilwoman,
it's-
was odd-shaped lots. Sometimes they have odd-shaped infill lots where you would normally couldn't put a house on, but with a variance, they can. And we've seen that all over town, actually.
Thank you. I noticed when I was reading the ordinance, it goes into extreme detail about trees, bushes, sidewalk. And I'm just making a note. I'm going to say this. It seemed very restrictive versus if I want to put a log cabin up. I think I might have been reading in the ordinance, it was basically a developer has to have, the houses have to look a certain way. Porches, pillars, greeneries, sidewalks. So when I'm looking at the ordinance, there's something for developers. In fact, it went through not just single-family lots, but it went all the way through to municipal development to downtown.
Yes.
Okay, so it was so we have that for all of those other people, but my concern is, in my district, for an individual person who doesn't make a lot of money, and I know, reading the ordinance, there are hardships, and I was just giving an example, but I've read the hardships. My concern is, it's an observation that could be a concern. It's an observation that to build a home, to do something, to live life in the city, there seems to be a lot of hoops to jump through in addition to getting the banking loan, which has nothing to do with the city. So at some point in time in the future, as we grow or there is movement, is this something we can revisit?
Absolutely. I think when you look at the detail, and I just kind of want to speak to really more office policy, the ordinance is written such that if I'm a developer and I read this and I have multiple lots that are zone FS6, then these are the requirements for this property. If I'm the individual who is reviewing the site plan for this house, I have sent a couple of site plans back just because I would like to know the existing tree location, existing sidewalk. So we constantly work with the property owner to give them credit for existing trees, or, you know, how large is the lot? How far away is their lot from the next largest tree? So we use a lot of practical application when we're reviewing infill development, because we do understand that these are lots that chances are have overgrown or they've got established neighborhoods around them. And so we really do try to apply best practice whenever we're reviewing these site plans for infill development. We go back to the stringent black and white whenever we have a brand-new plotted piece of property, that this is, you know, green space that someone's building from the ground up. So that makes sure that we're getting the trees into a newer neighborhood. So there's a lot that we can account for whenever we're looking at site plans and building plans for the infill development.
Okay. Thank you, Raylan.
Okay.
Does this ordinance differentiate between a developer or just me building a house for my kid?
No, ma'am.
All will have to comply. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I was sure on that.
Yeah, it's across the board depending on
Another thing, when
zoning.
does developers agreements come? Like if it's something we can negotiate, if it's just a little issue with the square footage, or when do that come in play versus going to the variance? board and going to court and all that?
So development agreements can be requested, and those come forward and get sent forward from staff through the city manager whenever they are requesting something outside of the zoning ordinance that would not qualify for a variance.
Tell me more about this rear parking. When I look at this diagram that you have displayed, it seems like it's restricting. First, I think it's a safety issue. If a car has to back out from beyond the back of the house, several feet past the house to the street, that's a concern for me. Because of the vision that's obstructed. Where did this come about with this rear parking? I don't really know if I understand that.
This was discussed when we were talking about the number of on-street parking and the issues within our very narrow right-of-ways on a lot of our streets, especially in the SF6 neighborhoods. So we were trying to figure out how to accommodate more parking within the property and on the driveway to bring those cars off of the street.
It seems like this is narrowing the house, and it's taken away from the usage and the square footage that could be utilized. Now, how wide is this, about how wide is this driveway that's here, that you have, the single?
It is, I think, 12-foot driveway is our requirement.
When I think about that, if we have a double driveway, you could park 4 cars, at least 2. You could have the same parking if you utilized the space more wide. You could park 2 cars side by side.
They're at the property line.
I'm really concerned about losing the potential for space and square footage
Okay.
when it relates to that.
Well,
And, okay.
yes. Is this design, what happens if a homeowner says they want to not use this design? Can they do it a different way? Is this like, you have to do it this way?
The current wording of the ordinance would say one choice is the existing rule book, right? So you could just go build a SF6 structure as you can do it in a green field, right? So that's presented, infill is presented as an option. So the standard in a green field is a 2-car parking or 2-car garage, and obviously 2 parking places in the front, the larger size of house. A builder would have the option to do that. A builder would have the option to go with this version. So that's just the way it was written. It was written as sort of a, you may do this or you may do that.
I saw that.
Okay.
That I read that there was another option, but it's not the drawing.
What's the other option?
The other option is you meet all of the same setback requirements, but we have a 1,600 square footage.
Bigger house.
Yeah. And that was what SF6 was originally,
Right.
was the 1,600.
Can the house go in the back and the driveway in the front?
That's A in the list,
That was
right?
A?
Yeah.
So for clarity, there's options available to us, but our goal was on the narrow streets to get the vehicles off of the streets and onto the homeowners' lots, right? But they can come, if they had an architect and they wanted to redesign it, it would come back to the city. The city would look at it, and if it all met all of the specification, it'd be okay. These are just options.
I just think this option is very unsafe and it's very restrictive. It's even more restrictive than just putting an extra garage or widening the concrete in the front to accommodate double parking. Okay, another thing. I mean, I just felt so beat down after the last meeting, but I just, I really think we just need to look at the bigger problem from our housing study, see what we can do based on those red numbers, those large red numbers as it relates to affordability.
Bless you.
My understanding is, first of all, I don't think we're here to take care of the legal and the judicial system's job. We're not here to do that because you're going to have price gouging. You have it in all sectors. I mean, it's just what it is. But I understand that people build houses, and when they look at what they've spent, they adjust the price that they sell it for or what they rent it for based on their expenses. That's not going to change. Now, I know there's still some crooks. I'm not worried about that. We're going to let the legal and the judicial system take care of them. That's going to still charge $2,000, even if we have more density, even if we have smaller units for elderly, single people, a single parent with one kid, disabled people, people that decided not to go to college and still want to live here. That housing study told us about the people we have here now. And as a council member, that's where I want to put my focus. It's great that people that's coming, they should do the research. They should know what they want when they come, and they need to see if Terrell accommodates that lifestyle. But I'm super concerned with the report we had from the housing study with the extreme low income. We can do nothing. We can just keep doing what we're doing and say the heck with it that we're about 916 units short, because this is what I imagine is going on. The extreme low income people are now dabbling over to those numbers that's black to the next level. And they're getting some of those houses. So that's why you see the $1,500 dollar rent or whatever for a one bedroom or whatever, because they're trying to survive. And they can only live in crisis mode for so long. So as a council, we can just negate that study. The heck with that group of people, even though it's the group that's screaming really loud to me when I look at that report. Or we can try to work to help. And a way we can help that is to decrease the cost of housing and how much it costs to build. If I build a house, use half the materials, half the square footage, half the everything except the impact fee, that house is going to cost less. And if our developers do crooked stuff, and we know about politics now, people do crooked things, okay? I'm not worried about those people. Those 1-2% people, life will take care of them, okay? I'm talking about the 98% of the people that use half the materials, half of everything to build the house, and charge according to that. Those are the people that we want. And those are the people that I think we can get, and we have, okay? But I do think the cost is up because you're paying for every square foot. Even though I keep hearing that the minimum is 1,600 square feet, that is living. And if we're requiring a 440 square foot garage, a builder does not negate that. You still have to pay the same square footage amount for the 2-car garage. So the house is actually over 2,000 square feet. So I want to be very clear when we're communicating, because they don't just charge you based on the living space and you get a free garage. It doesn't work like that. So with that being said, even when I think about the restaurant industry, if the food go up, if the fajita meat goes up, the menu prices are gonna change. And we have restaurants that no matter how cheap they're getting the meat, their prices are astronomical. I'm not worried about those restaurants here in Terrell. I'm worried about people using good business practices to build safe, standard houses of all sizes to accommodate our people. And I'm really concerned about the people that are extremely low because of that report. So I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. I think everybody knows how I feel about that report and the people that's affected that live here now. Not the ones that's coming, because the ones that's coming, they're gonna be okay because they're gonna choose to come here. But I don't wanna be in this instance where the hardship is so tough, these people are already in crisis mode, and we push them out. I went to a conference years ago, my first conference, and it says, take care of the people that you have here. They have gotten us to this point. They got us our $40 million budget. They are the ones doing that for us. And I will not just dismiss those people like they don't even exist. I will not close my eyes and act like that 916 unit shortage does not exist, okay? So that's my concern. I'm not worried about those people that need the $1.5 million houses. They're coming. We got some estate lots. We got some developers that's doing that. They're gonna be fine. But it's the red. That's my concern, and that's why I'm just really worried about our policies and our ordinances, because our ordinance, our housing study showed what's going on, and I just want to address it. So,
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody on this side?
You know what, I realize we have an ordinance before us with some redlining on different issues that we've requested, right? Whether it's being able to put in what we call a thrift store in town, to provide options to community members, or get streets off of, whether it's District 3 installings, which we see in East Terrell, North Terrell, South Terrell, whatever you want to call the neighborhoods, right? We've said that before. Hey, there's too many streets. We need the buses to drive through. We need emergency vehicles. Let's get those cars off the street. We've heard the need for different options for housing. So I know that there's work that has been completed by staff to try to help reach a point, and I've heard two different ends, right? From community members, from community leaders, from my fellow council members and mayor on the dais. And what I'd like to do is get to a place where we can compromise and find a balance, knowing that for maybe specifically at the housing portion of it, we may not all walk away feeling the greatest, or I'm certainly not expecting to walk away today feeling like I have solved the housing issue, because it's not a City of Terrell only issue, it's not a DFW issue. We have a need for housing. We've seen the data. We know there's more community members that are coming to our community now and in the future. And we have a housing workshop on the 28th that's around the corner that I anticipate will continue the conversation and help us plan for the future to address those current and future concerns. So I'm hopeful that we'll continue to steer in a better direction. And we've had a lot more, I feel like the city has heard from the council and community members on, so let's provide options. I have a question specifically on the exhibit that's in front of us. Is there a reason why, the covered parking spot, and help me here, because I know there's an option A, and there's an option B. Is there a reason why covered parking is behind, like, the home line? Is that to maintain it? What comes to my mind is, hey, it's separate. That way, if individuals in the future come, it stays as a garage, and it doesn't convert into housing, and then we're ending up with the same issue, right? And is there a reason
It helps
behind that?
push the vehicles towards the rear of the property line.
There's just
So-
not enough.
Right, so if your
Space on the
garage was up towards the front, like your standard SF6, then basically you've got 25 feet of rear yard, which is all backyard, which is great. But if you move the covered parking towards the rear of your property, now you have a longer driveway, and you've moved more vehicles off of the right-of-way.
So say that last sentence one more time.
So if your covered parking is moved into what you view now as your backyard, now you've allowed for more cars in your driveway pushed back beyond the front of your house, because your garage keeps all of your vehicles in the front yard. So with the covered garage or covered parking being behind your house, now you have the entire length of your parcel for a driveway.
So, I mean, is it, I'm wondering if, do we, I like the thought of having a garage, right? And I'm going back to options. Do we, I mean, can't we require, or does option A require, does option A give us the same amount of driveway as option B?
No, because option A, your garage can be front-facing or side-facing. So your garage is going to be towards the front of your house. It's going to be in alignment with your front facade.
So am I getting more driveway with this exhibit?
With option B, you're getting the longer driveway and more vehicles parked on your property.
And the covered parking? The covered parking, does it have to be brick at this point?
No, it is considered a carport.
A carport. So when I think of a carport, I think of, sometimes you drive down and there's folks that are selling, a storage building that you can transport from that location to your home. And then they have carports as well that you can transport, or I guess build on your home. So it doesn't necessarily look like a brick building. Is that the type of carport that we would be allowing in this case?
So it specifically just address the enclosed or covered parking. So it would be the covering that would be allowed within the zoning ordinance, which goes back to the conversation about facade and presenting the material list, et cetera. And so that material list will also have to match the residential structure. It doesn't necessarily have to be a completely enclosed garage, but it will have to have a building material list that matches your proposed structure.
Okay, and I've, there's one home that comes to mind in the Stallings neighborhood that I see, that already exists where it's not
Right,
completely
so
covered.
you can, if there is an existing house, people can come and apply for carport permits. And so that kind of opens up a different toolbox of items that can be built. But because this would be a new build, then it would be part of the building plans.
Okay, well, I'm, as far as the 1,100 square feet, I'm supportive of that for the infill developments. I know it's only one part of the conversation. It's not it's a minimum. There's going to be developers on those infill lots, or those individual homeowners that were brought up that may not just only want 1,100 square feet. They may want 1,300 square feet. They may want 1,600 square feet. on that lot, but at least they have a minimum that we can be working with for those infill developments. And we have a handful of housing developments that are coming into the city of Terrell as well that will provide additional options with a greater square footage as well. I think back to a community, a neighborhood that I just saw in the city of Garland, and I know there's many more neighborhoods like this throughout Texas and the U.S. where there were homes right next to each other that had like a side yard, or I would say 5 to 6 feet on each side. Not quite sure of the rear setback. Really, what I feel is a nice home. The exterior was brick. They were about 1,100 square feet. Some were one single-story home, about 1,100 square feet or a little less. And there were also houses built by that same developer that were two-story homes. So some were one-story, some were two-story. But that was the type of home that a couple who were empty nesters now had that can afford, and it provides them an option. And the house was beautiful inside. She did such a great job with the way she just displayed everything in her home, but it accommodated what they needed at the time. And they're only 2 individuals, so they had 2 parking spots, and that's all they needed since they're empty nesters. Well, that is not an example of everybody in the community. I think it's certainly an option to have. And those are the type of conversations that I'd like to focus more on the housing workshop. So I won't say any more and try to deviate from what's in front of us, but I am supportive of the 1,100, and I appreciate the removal of the improved service for the mobile food.
Okay,
food
thank you.
units.
Phil?
So thank you, Raylan. Thank you to staff for putting this together. I know that we've belabored this to death, and so I ask for your apologies for this, going around in circles here. I want to thank both of our speakers tonight. Both of you brought very valid points. I think with respect to one of our speakers tonight, I want to clarify my position on affordable housing. I fully recognize it as a need. People all over our city want affordable housing, even in my district. Everyone wants affordable housing. My point is that we haven't been shown any data, any actual data, showing that reducing standards and making these homes smaller is going to result in these houses being more affordable. That they can still be just as expensive being made small. They can still be made more cheaply using fewer materials, but they can and will be put on the market for $250,000 or $200,000, $300,000. It's not necessarily going to result in them being cheaper homes. So I don't think that allowing small houses to be built is the solution to our affordable housing problem. In fact, it could potentially negatively impact some of our lower income areas by allowing these, smaller homes to be built. Last meeting, our own director of housing stated that she felt the best solution would be for our people to take advantage of available assistance programs as opposed to just building smaller homes. I've talked to my constituents extensively. I've polled them, polled people all over the city, as a matter of fact, not just my constituents, just polls throughout the city on Terrell forums. And the sentiment I hear is people do not want developers to be allowed to come into Terrell and build an abundance of small homes. That's just not what people are telling me they want to happen. So one final question. With regard to this ordinance as a whole, I've championed changes to our thrift store ordinance and the masonry facade codes, and I wish to vote in the affirmative for those changes, but I can't in good conscience vote for a reduction in standards for corporate housing developers. So how can I do one and not the other?
But we haven't, the ordinance does not lower the standards for corporate developers.
It reduces the minimum size.
Okay, so the comments need to be directed to staff. When we can start debating amongst each other is once we have a motion on the floor.
Let me just try to answer the councilman's comment, and I'll try to be very specific. In terms of framing a motion, when you frame a motion on this item, what staff would ask is that if you, I'm not trying to say which one, if you should happen to favor excluding the option shown, then you would make a motion saying, hey, I want to approve the zoning ordinance as presented, while excluding any change to SF6 infill. Okay? So it's as simple as the motion you make to either include it or slightly adjust the square footage or to say, whatever else you might want. So I'm hearing general consensus that the rest of the ordinance is looking pretty good. So I'm going to hope that we can get a motion that will allow us to move forward on the remaining part of the ordinance. And really, the contentious issue of what to do with the SF6 infill really is just dependent upon your phrasing of the motion, and then y'all would debate it after the motion.
Okay, so, are you good, or you had something else? No, I just want to make some clarity with our staff before we move forward with a motion. Let's talk about planning and zoning and what they did at planning and zoning. They came up with a compromise, right? And that number was?
1,300 square feet
So,
for infill development.
So the council gave staff instruction to reduce the square footage because we did do the affordable housing study. We said to go to them with what number?
Staff originally proposed 1,100 square foot, because that was just the calculation we had done on top of the parcel. And P&Z recommended to City Council 1,300.
But it was at
1,100.
1,100, no, it was higher.
1,600.
It was 1,600.
The existing ordinance is 16.
I know, I'm trying to, so we can walk through here. We were at 16, we said go to 11, they compromised to 13, they got a unanimous vote from our planning and zoning. So that was the compromise that was made on planning and zoning. We appoint planning and zoning, so I'm comfortable there. There's a mechanism in place that exists for a single builder to come and work with the city to reduce the 1,300 if necessary down to 1,100.
Through a development agreement.
Through a development agreement. But there's a mechanism in place to do that. So I'm comfortable with that. I think that covers everybody. You know, I don't like the idea. I'm kind of with Councilman Robinson about reducing it, but if we're going to do it, we had planning and zoning look at it. They came with us with a recommendation, a unanimous recommendation. That's what they're there for. And yes, we have the ability to adjust it, and we can, but I'm good with going with the recommendation. But we're going to need a motion, so does anybody have any questions, any further questions for Raylan?
I do.
Yes.
Are you aware of the legislation, potential legislation coming in from Texas, our legislators, to mandate to cities houses on lots?
Minimal lot sizes, yes, ma'am. We're
Okay,
watching
so
that.
we're prepared for what's coming down the pike.
Yes.
We lost by 2 votes last legislature. It's on the dockets this
Yes.
session.
We
It will-
constantly watch the
It
zoning.
will churn. It will change everything.
Yeah,
Okay,
there'll
we're
be
aware.
mandates for us to go in and update our zoning ordinance based on what legislation passes.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Real quick,
Oh, no.
I'll go ahead and say, in the interest of compromise and, respecting the review done by P&Z, I can get behind the compromise of, it was 16, we tried 11, we've landed at 13. I can move forward and support that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there a motion? This is ordinance 30880. If we're going to do, by the way, I think, Raylan, you correct me if I'm wrong, if we're going to take the recommendation of the planning and zoning, we would just approve ordinance 30880 as presented, and that covers everything.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the ordinance as presented by, and as set forth by planning and zoning.
Okay, have a motion. Is there a second? The mayor will second it, and we'll take a vote. So we have a motion from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from the mayor to approve ordinance number 3080 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so the motion fails. Is there another motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 3080 with an update to Section 19, single-family residential, SF6 district. Where'd it go? To update the square foot size from 1,300 to 1,100 square feet.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, to approve ordinance number 3080 and to amend the square footage to 1,100 square foot on the section referenced in the infill lots. Yes? That's a motion and a second. I have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, a second from Donna Renee Anderson, District 2, to move forward with that motion at 1,100 square foot. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, as a point of order, is
Yes.
there any additional procedural matters that have to occur to override a P&Z recommendation?
Not in this case.
Well,
Not in this case. Normally, it does, if you're going to, if it was a zoning matter, if we were changing zoning classifications and things of that nature, yes.
Are we
it
not?
does. I'm sorry?
Are we not?
No, we're not. We're just all we're doing is adjusting square footage.
To help clarify, the rule related to supermajorities with planning and zoning is when you are changing the land use of a lot.
Exactly.
So this does not change the land use of a lot, so therefore it's not a supermajority vote. This is changing the rule book itself, which under our system is simply a straight majority vote.
okay.
And
All right.
I want to be clear that I support planning and zoning and the different conversations that have been had and those that have spoken before us. And I also support the calculations that city staff brought forth for the 1,100. So that's where I'm moving forward with the 1,100.
Okay. Noted. Record. We have a motion again and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion carries with a 3-2 vote. Next item on the agenda is 6.1, discuss transportation update. This is going to be handled by our senior project manager, Omara Mata. Thank you, council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sorry, I'm gonna go back. Sorry, I was trying to make this really difficult for no reason. I will present to you guys this evening our transportation report. We give this quarterly, or attempt to. The data that you see before you is gonna be from your November 11th update that we get from the county. So there's a lot of fun information, and I'm just gonna fly through here. If you have any questions, please stop me at any time. So just an overall for the county itself. Currently, we have $237 million under construction, $662 million under design, and $13.8 billion in the planning stage. So those numbers will speak for themselves that we are growing. So our outer loop, you have heard us talk about this often. This is going to connect at the top part of the county where Rockwall and Kaufman meet, and it's gonna go from 205 down to 148 where Arboretum Estates. It is in the planning phase as of right now, and they held a couple of public meetings in 2024. There should be a final public meeting with a schematic in more detail in the summer of 2025, and once they publish a date, I will bring that forward. This is currently at $1.2 billion to build, and you can always go to kaufmanouterloop.com for a lot more information. Maybe not. Okay. This is just a little bit deeper on the 205 extension. It has been cleared environmentally. The construction is pending utility relocation and final plans. Right now, it's funded for $261 million, and it should be ready to go under construction at some point in June 2025. That date is subject to change.
We're going to let everyone know, don't take 205.
That is correct. Avoid 205 at all costs.
Yeah, can you hold on that slide? I just want to make sure that we're communicating clearly with this PowerPoint slide. It says pending utility relocation and final plans. The phrase that TxDOT uses that says estimated ready to let is dependent upon utility relocations, okay? So there's any number of utility providers on State Highway 205 between the Walmart intersection, which is where it's the Begin project, and just north of the Rockwall County line. So there's a lot pending to be done between now and June in order for ready to let to happen. Ready to let is not start of construction. Ready to let is when we think we can go seek contractors to build it. And that is its own process, okay? So if the utilities don't move, that June 2025 gets pushed back. So make sure I'm very clear with how we're describing it.
Thank you.
And that's applicable to all of these. So on Interstate 20, your frontage roads that will go from Sage Hill all the way over to State Highway 34, that construction start pending, like Mr. Sims mentioned, the utility relocation, funding, and final plans. That ready to let date is April 2026. It has been environmentally cleared, and this cost right now is $352 million. US 80 from 460 to Spur 557. It's currently in the planning phase. Construction start pending utility relocation, funding, and final plans, and the dollar amount for that is at $1.4 billion. You can see it outlined in purple there. So our Regional Transportation Council, they meet monthly on the second Thursday, I believe. So the next meeting is going to be February 14th at noon. I know the mayor attends a couple of those. We always try to keep up with those if we attend or we watch them online. They are available online for you to watch as they happen and afterwards. So if you're ever interested in that, I'm happy to share that information. They still have your Map Your Experience virtual tool that I kind of touched on last time. I know it's been a while. Basically, you can go in, if you have any problem areas or see anything that you experience, they have that available there. And they are currently doing the Mobility 2050. So on that timeline right now, we just started 2025. They are in the draft plan, going to be posted. I checked, they have not posted it, but as soon as that is, I will be sharing that information. And as you can see, we're coming down to the end of that, going through a final public comment period. Then the RTC will adopt that, and then they will finalize and go through the process of that Mobility 2050. This is an overview of all of the major roadways in North Texas. You can see that Kaufman County is growing just as much as all of the other.
Can you go back to that slide?
Yes, ma'am.
What is asset optimization? Purple? Those are the purple squigglies.
Like
The
175.
the purple at the bottom.
Think
It's
of
shown
asset
175.
optimization as a series of improvements not geared to add main lanes, but to make improvements around the facility so that something could at least be a little bit better on the facility. This is the comment that staff has brought up before, that we're bothered with the status of Interstate 20, where they do seem very committed to the frontage road project, but building the frontage roads and then not following through without doing the main lanes is going to be a gigantic problem in this county. And so that's why we have said to TxDOT and to the Regional Transportation Council, we need not only frontage roads on Interstate 20 in this county, in Terrell in particular, but we also need the lanes. And so that purple, to me, is bad news in this county.
Asset optimization. That means they're optimizing getting something.
They're improving.
They're getting something. Okay, thank you.
Kind of to wrap up here, in conjunction with all of the transportation goodness, Kaufman County as a whole last year started a quarterly transportation meeting. That is your city managers, mayors, everyone at the county, your county judge, who meet together and kind of get in a room and talk about what the future looks like and how we can improve, what we can do, and how we can collaborate. So in 2024, we had 3 meetings. Our next meeting is going to be hosted by the city of Kaufman, and it should be in spring 25. Last year, we passed a resolution, as well as a couple of other cities and nonprofits, for the $4 billion for Kaufman County, to increase the TxDOT investment from roughly $300 million to $4 billion in order to get the dollars that we need for transportation in the county. So we're going to be meeting again and kind of continuing that in 2025 to see what kind of strategy we want to move forward. Again, Kaufman County Day is coming up. That would be where we can also talk, as well as NLC, and find out what kind of groups we need to get together, who we need to talk to, et cetera. And then everyone's favorite topic I saved for last. This is the US 80 205 148 intersection that is currently under construction since October 2022. And it should be wrapping up here shortly. And that cost is right now at $16 million. And if you have any questions, please direct them to our engineer, Mr. Chris Allen.
I have a question for Chris.
So I do not dance. I'm not good at any of that. So, no, I'll just briefly, this is a sore subject for many of us. We all see it. We all go through it, and we experience it. I will tell you, I've talked to the district engineer, and they are having opportunities with the contractor, similar to what we are doing, and they are implying contractual penalties. Okay, so it's not that everybody drives by, and just like our jobs, we have a lot of supervisors. And if someone's not doing something, they call and say, hey, why is it's not someone on that dozer? Why someone's not on that sweeper? Things of that nature. He did imply that they are administering some contractual penalties to that contractor, similar to what we are doing on Apache Trail. So it is an opportunity that several of our contractors, they sound eager and gumption and gung-ho at the first of it, but weather days and opportunities and Christmas and things of that nature. When will it be finished? They're kind of projecting, and I can get shot just as much as anybody on my crystal ball, but they're anticipating hopefully around the April timeframe. I was looking at it in March, but now we're getting into some weather days. As everybody knows, when we get into February, March, and April, it rains more. And when it rains and it dries up the next day, that doesn't mean they get back on the trucks and they start laying concrete, because one, we got to pump all the water out because we usually have holes. And we have to pack that land, the sub base and things of that nature. So there's a lot of prep work that has to be done. So they're constantly watching the weather. So that's just a little bit of song and dance from what I've been told and implied as for what the direction is. So I'm like you.
The assumption that the city isn't engaged with TxDOT to try to put all the pressure.
This is merely a TxDOT project.
Yes.
And it's all funded by TxDOT, and they manage 100% of it. Well, one of the obstacles that you mentioned that coordinating is the arms there at 140, the railroad arms. They're going to be replaced, and UP usually likes to do everything at one time. They don't want to come out and do one arm or half an arm or anything like that. They want to come out and do the entire thing. So coordinating with UP and TxDOT at the same time is cats and dogs. Sometimes they get along, but it's just a coordination effort, big time coordination effort.
Yeah, and the only thing I would sort of add to this is I just want to mention what we control and what we don't control. In the 2014, so take a deep breath and think about that. In the 2014 county bond election, we went to the county and said, oh, great, you're going to have a transportation bond program. Can you include the intersection at 205, 148, and US 80? Because as staff in 2014, we felt like it was very important to get funding for this intersection. And they said, no, we cannot include it. Construction costs are too high for us to include that. We said, okay, what if we paid for the engineering out of the county bond program? They said, okay, fine, we'll do the engineering out of the county bond program in 2014. And obviously that did not go very quickly, but we did get it done. I say we, again, it was a county managed job at the time to finish the engineering. And then the next step was getting the funding attached to the thing. Well, we could advocate that, and we can advocate that, we can advocate that, and they finally applied the funding to it and started the construction. We reviewed the construction plans. I can tell you that we owe a great favor to a guy who's not here, Steve Rogers, our former city engineer, because he made them fix the construction phasing, because the way they were going to shut this intersection down was extremely detrimental to the city of Terrell. It's been bad enough as it was, and unfortunately, I have to say, without city intervention, it would have been worse. On the other hand, you have to remember, when TxDOT hands the project to a contractor, there becomes very little that we can do to control the outcome of it. We can advocate, we can call up and be one of the many voices that complain, and Chris and I do that. And I just want to let you know, hey, what's in our control? We try to address the front end of a lot of these transportation projects so that we can get them queued up and get them going. And now right here at the middle of this one, I can tell you it's just nothing but frustrating, because the contractor's taken longer than their contract allowed them time to build the project. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Mayor.
Okay. So anyway, one of the point is that we've been working on this for a very long time, and nobody's as upset as the mayor and the council that we can't get this thing finished and over the goal line, but it is coming. The end will come to the end. I just wanted to mention, of the 3 county meetings that were in 2024, how many of them were held in Terrell? All of them, or 1, 2? 2 of the 3? Okay. So it's important for us as we move forward to continue to work with the county. When we're in Austin or whenever we're approaching TxDOT, if we do it in a united front as a county, it seems like we get better reception from them to fund county projects. We benefit from, the city does, with all of these that are in the works. So thank you, staff, for working on that. Does anybody have any questions for our staff?
Mayor, I'd like to make the comment
Yes.
that I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that it's well understood, this is a TxDOT project, it's not a City of Terrell project. We can't do anything specifically to expedite the process. But this is absolutely unacceptable how long this has taken, to the point where, it's been years now, and we have businesses, reaching out to me consistently saying, this is dramatically impacting my profits, my business. It's causing real harm to our residents. So whatever we can do, whatever leverage we can pull, whatever contacts at the state or federal levels we can reach out to apply some pressure to, make an effort to get this expedited, it's of tremendous importance to our city, to the economic health of our city, to the health of our businesses, our residents. This is a top tier problem right now in our city that's got to be corrected. And whatever we've got to do to apply some leverage, I'd like to hear some creative ideas, something we can do to not just, oh, well, I guess we're not, it's not going to get done for a while. We've got to push somehow to get this done faster. And I would love to see staff come back with some ideas with regard to how we can apply some pressure. What can we do? Who can we reach out to? What can be done from our perspective to at least get some progress made? I know I was told long ago it'd be done in August of 2024. Then I'm told January 2025. We're passing that. Contractors incurred fees in both of those instances, and now they're going to incur a fee again, likely. At this point, can't they employ a different contractor? No progress is being made. So let's see let's think this through a bit. I would ask staff to come back with some ideas, some solutions to apply some pressure.
All right.
I have a question for staff. So for the US 80 and the US 80 through Spur 557 plans, during, have we had conversations with TxDOT about any potential walls along the new neighborhoods that we are going to have on Highway 80? I'm thinking as we are exiting Highway 80, because I did see in the project information they have online that there was conversations around like walls that, or, you know, sound barriers, and those were, I want to say they listed one around like Windmill Farms area, and if it's too late to do that for neighborhoods in our community that are coming soon?
So I would say that the sound wall exercise by TxDOT does end up being a thing based on the land use that's there when they're moving forward with the project. If I look at this purple line, I don't have a residential neighborhood today. So as they're planning it, we wouldn't meet the warrant that they have for it. There is definitely an apartment complex in Forney next to Windmill Farms that meets the warrant because it was allowed to be constructed so close to the right-of-way. The sound wall issue in the city of Terrell, I would say, is on the next PowerPoint slide, if we could move to that one. I'm sorry, the previous PowerPoint slide, pardon me, on this one. So this map doesn't actually go quite far enough, but think about Kings Creek. So we did request, and we have been arguing, and that discussion continues related to adding a sound wall to the Interstate 20 frontage road project as that project goes past Kings Creek. So that is an effort that we continue to have underway, where their initial pass at it was that there weren't enough impacted residences. We said we disagree with that wholeheartedly. We do believe that there really ought to be a sound wall in that area, and we're still attempting to get a sound wall related to the Kings Creek portion of the frontage roads along Interstate 20. So that's the major sound wall issue right now in the city of Terrell. You know, the Woodlands project is separated by quite a bit of green. There is a portion of that where we may be able to make an argument for sound wall as well. So we're continuing on more than one project to engage in the sound wall conversation.
But those conversations are separate from the US 80 and Spur 557 project? Or
On the US 80, well, I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly. If I go back to the purple one, on that one, I can tell you that as we've raised that point about the North Spur development, that we have not made any progress on the issue of sound walls, partly because, remember, the residential along North Spur is separated from the frontage road by the retail portion of North Spur. There are not houses in North Spur that actually front on there. There's two retail parcels, a 16-acre one and a 19 or 18-acre parcel that separate the residential from the North Spur project, or from the US 80 project here.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is discuss TextMyGov.com software. This is going to be handled by our Public Services Director, Glenn Caldwell.
Mayor, Council, I'll do the easy part on this one. I didn't do all the heavy lifting, but I've got one of the experts here tonight, Dora Trejo and Christy Norris, done the heavy lifting for me and DJ. So short version of this for me is we use a software program called iWorks. And this is an added component that's called TextMyGov that will assist our department with communicating with the citizens and receiving feedback from the citizens. And one of the things I want to share with you, there's many of other cities that use this particular component, from Heath to Grand Prairie to McClendon to Chisholm, Kemp. So this is not a new component. I want Dora Trejo to come up and go through a short presentation, and then myself and DJ will be available for questions or comments.
If you would, please state your name and address when you come to the...
I'm having technical difficulties with my contacts. I'm not crying, I swear. My name is Dora. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, Dora.
No need to be nervous.
So nervous.
No need to be nervous.
So in front of you, we have this short little version of why it's so great to have TextMyGov to be a part of one of our communications between us and our citizens. It helps reduce the amount of phone calls that we receive. It helps us send text alerts. So for example, if one of our trash trucks break down and they can't service a certain area, we can always text those citizens, let them know that they'll be delayed or when they will resume pickup. We can track requests. So like Mr. Caldwell said, this software is going to be working specifically with iWorks. So if a citizen texts in a report for sewer, trash, anything of that sort, it works directly with iWorks and it will communicate with them back and forth, and it will create a work order for these citizens so that they don't have to call in. This may work for some of our elderly citizens who maybe they can't speak on the phone, things of that sort. Some of our younger citizens as well, they probably rather text. We can always jump in as well and take over the conversation if they can't get to where they need to get. This is going to be on our website. We'll have our number on there. It's a short 91896 number that people can text to opt in. All they have to text is Terrell. We will also have keywords. Could you go to the next one? We will also have other keywords eventually that we will include on there so they can just text something like animal and the system will text them back. And like I said, it can create work orders or it can send them to our website to the area that they need information for, whether it's our animal control. If, for example, if it's a non-emergency, it'll give them our non-emergency number to Terrell PD. This is important for upcoming events, like I said, garbage delays, road closures. If we have our guys working in a certain area, we can send that mass message out to our citizens to let them know to avoid that area, things of that sort. Sewer and water updates as well. It's just some good news.
So when do you go live with this?
It's up to you all. We do have an upcoming training. We've been training with TextMyGov for the past month, a little bit over a month. It's up to y'all whenever y'all are ready. We did want to give y'all at least 2 weeks is what they recommended for marketing to get the information out. We don't want our citizens to think this is a scam. So it is completely up to y'all.
Who does the text go to? Is it an AI thing where?
So with this program, we did pay for them to collect data. So we do have cell phone numbers for phone numbers to the area of Terrell. We have reduced it down to our city limits only.
And I guess, say I text Terrell and I have an issue with my sewer. Mm-hmm. Then it will go to the sewer department?
It will respond to you. And it'll ask you probably for your address. Once you text back your address, it'll get your information back and forth. It's like a conversation, so they'll ask for a little more information, your address, and it will create a work order for you.
And it comes directly to the department. So
Yes.
it'll go,
So-
water and sewer,
To
go to
whom?
DJ's department, and anything, potholes, street closures, those type of things
Signage,
will
yeah.
come to public
Our
services.
guys.
And it's in English and Spanish?
Yes, if you can go over to the next one, we'll also share that information with our Spanish-speaking citizens, and it works in Spanish.
Yeah.
So those keywords will be in Spanish as well. If they want to text us in Spanish, it'll have that conversation with them.
Okay. So, DJ, you know how to read Spanish? I mean, what happens? Where does it get translated?
When it creates the work order, it will translate it for our guys, and when it responds to the citizen, it'll do the response in Spanish.
In Spanish?
Yes, sir.
Smart.
The nice thing about Google is it does have it translate.
Scan and go? Okay.
Yes, I put it on my phone.
Yeah?
In English and Spanish.
And this is a component that we're not asking for new money. We're using our existing budget to fund it between public services and the utilities department.
So it's a part of your program. It's a part of your it's a part of your existing software. This is a component of that software.
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an
It's a
additional
partnership.
module.
So there is no additional fee. It's a tie-in.
Well, no, there is additional fees. Our current budget is available to fund this particular module so that we can better serve our community and give them the ability to communicate with us.
How How much is the additional fee?
Okay, so you want to talk about or you want me?
Yes.
So the cost for this particular component is $10,000 per year for a 3-year period of time. We can purchase additional time. For an example, I believe it's $250 for a larger memory storage space, and then it's $1,000 for $500 or $1,000. I'm going on
It
memory.
depends on what we request. So if we request more messages, do you want to give them what
Yeah.
the package includes? Right.
So for an example, the current package is 100,000 responses. If we want additional responses, it's $750 for additional 100,000, $550 for 50,000, $300 for 25,000. That's inexpensive, unheard of. That is cheap to be able to communicate with the citizens, get correspondence to and fro. So I think there was one other question.
Yeah, so on the message and data rates may apply. Do we know what those are? Are those just, I meant,
That depends on the service provider that they use.
Right, that's their phone, and if
Yes.
their phone is charging them, then that's,
I know, but what I don't want is excessive charges. If we can manage that in any way, you know, that would be a concern for me anyway, is that someone's getting charged for sending the message. And I know we don't know unless their carrier does, but I hope that's not excessive.
Well, the good news about cell phones, your carrier will notify you if there's a additional charge, and you can opt out of that if you choose not to move forward with the text or messaging. So that is available to the citizens.
Okay. Anybody have a question?
Yeah, so the mayor's, I think, initial question was a good one regarding, you know, when someone texts this number, who is responding? Is it a person or is it a system?
It's an automated system.
Okay. The last thing I want is for citizens to be sending something to this message and they don't get a response back. They're just sitting there waiting. How do we ensure that they're getting a response back regarding their issue?
Ms. Christie and I will be managing the conversation, so we can see all of the conversation with the automated system is responding. If for some reason a citizen is not, it's just not working, they're not getting through, we can always jump in.
Okay, but so someone is actively making sure that each text is being addressed, so they're not just kind of going out into limbo and people are kind of wondering what's going on with their issue. It's being looked at closely.
Yes, sir.
100%. That's why it creates an actual work order.
okay, I don't want to be unrealistic about it. Let's say someone's texting the system on, you know, Sunday at 7 p.m. There's, you know, I don't want to mislead you that there's a staff person who's going to stare at it right then and there. On the other hand, okay, we'll have staff people who, well, that's their job Monday morning, get in, open up the system, check and see what was there, and if there does seem to have been a problem over the weekend, they would hop in and they would try to troubleshoot whatever problem happened.
Since this is an automated messaging system, I would be in favor of, you know, if we are, once someone texts, you know, having a reply that says, like, an immediate response after whatever they text, right? Like, your message has been received. If this is a, you know, emergency, you know, fire, here's the phone number. If this is a, right, when we have staff on call for drainage issues, like text or call, call this phone number. So that's a good point that was brought up, and I think it would be helpful if we have the capability to add like a message there. And they would also keep it in their phone. So hopefully that means if they're having an incident in the future, they're like, I know where I can find that number in that text message, or hopefully they can save it. Can we do that?
Yes.
And also to piggyback on what she's saying, if the message could say, if you're texting outside of normal business hours, expect a response at this time, or you'll only receive a response between the hours of blank and blank, you know, so they don't expect to get something back immediately. You know what I mean? If it could indicate that to them.
Yeah, I just don't want this to replace, you know, when people have emergencies and things like that, they'll go through the same channels prior to having this text.
Well, let's keep, when you say emergency, emergency meaning police and fire? Or are you saying emergency for water and sewer or a breakage.
Yeah, something with the city, not infrastructure, or something's broken, or how does that, it gets reported a different way versus using this?
It can be, yes. Our current process doesn't change. You can call in, that works as well. You can send a text message, an email, it doesn't change. You can call our cell phone, you can call our emergency 24-hour number as well. So those options still exist, so that does not change.
So to clarify for the councilwoman, it's an addition to, not to replace what we currently have.
That's exactly correct, Mr. Mayor.
Does it have a capability of like tracking response time, or, you know, the turnaround time as far as, you know, when you guys get the message? Does it have that capability?
Yes, ma'am.
How often will y'all be reviewing that?
We have, the TextMyGov website is very accessible. Like y'all said, we can see every conversation. After every conversation, that's something I should have added at the beginning, it'll ask the person, is this what you needed? And if they say yes, it'll close out the conversation and we get a notification. It was handled. And that's how we will know if that conversation didn't end or if they're having trouble. That's when we jump in. They do have a bunch of data that we will be able to see as far as what kind of reports they're making, like you said, response time, how many of those text messages ended in, you know, it getting the problem being resolved. So we will have data that we can present to y'all if you so like it.
Is there any flexibility built into the contract? If you see that there's a problem or issue, is any of that already built into the contract? Like, if it's something you want to adjust?
100%.
Or is it just one thing fits every city, this is how it's going to be?
Yes, we can always fix responses as well, the automated responses. If y'all rather it send them to a different link or something of that sort, we can always fix that as well. Yes. I'm talking about my sewer, but they're really talking about their open stormwater and if we can get the right team or the right work order.
My mic was not on, but what I was asking was that, and staff replied yes to that, folks will be able to send in a photo, so if they have a sewer issue, but it's really open stormwater issue, then the work order can get to the right team. I like to have options. I think sometimes I will bring to community members' attention that maybe there's like the iWorks where you log on to the the laptop or may text the link, and that's not everybody's favorite way, and I get it, and we still are able to come forth to the window or pick up the phone, and this just provides another option. So I do look forward to, you know, having like a 6-month you know, update on, you know, how it's working and hopefully how, you know, it helps improve things for staff as well.
Okay. Anyone else?
I feel pretty confident that the 3 years is what we need.
I think that's where we start, Ms. Council. Mayor Pro.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you. Good to see you. Next item on the agenda is discuss update to the FY 26, 27, 28 strategic plan. Mr. Sims.
Mayor and Council, let's just kind of walk through an annual process here, and our annual process is to update our strategic plan. On the next slide, if you can go to the next, there you go. What's in our current one? Our current one is for FY 24, 25, and 26. It was adopted by Council on May 14th, 2024. It has two major portions to it. One portion is where it has 5 separate city council vision and goal statements. So each elected official was asked, hey, tell us your vision, your goals, let's get them in there so that staff can see those and we know where you're going with those. And then after that, there's a section where it's organized by individual departmental goals. So let's take a look at the next slide. And you can see, here's our current vision and goal statements. And I'm not going to read them all to you. There's a lot there. But that's just kind of a quick little snapshot of what was in last May when it was approved in May. The next slide shows you the departmental goals. I couldn't possibly put all of those in there, but they're arranged in 4 different groups: internal services, public safety, growth and infrastructure, and community service. And so there's seven groups of goals under internal service, and 7 groups of goals under public safety, 8 groups of goals under growth and infrastructure, 7 under community service. And each one of those, sometimes there's 2 or 3 sub-goals, sometimes there's, 8, 9, 12 sub-goals. So there's a lot there, and it's quite daunting sometimes. So we always want to think about improvement. So here is a recommendation for improvement so that we can have just take another step forward in the effectiveness of our strategic plan. So again, this would be for FY 26, 27, and 28. This would be adopted by council later this calendar year, and you would be saying, hey, this is what we would like to try to accomplish in FY 26, FY 27, and FY 28. So we think it's important to stand on things that you've already endorsed. So we want to stand on what you've adopted as your citywide vision, slogan, and mission, and you've adopted things related to a staff mission statement. Then the idea is, instead of having 5 separate elected official vision and goal statements, maybe we could combine those into unified priority outcomes so that your constituents are seeing you've worked through that process. You've attempted to come to consensus with one another on a set of unified priority outcomes, and I'll show you a little bit more about that as well. We also want to be trying to use goals that are things we can really hold ourselves accountable to. Are they clear-cut? Are they actionable? Are they things that we can really measure over a course of time? So we want to polish up how we state those goals. The next slide is just sort of a reminder. There's your vision: on authentic hometown where families thrive, businesses grow, and community is a way of life. Slogan is build your legacy. Mission is lead the way. On the next slide, it's what you've asked staff to do. City of Charles staff strives to be the most diligent, trusted, and respected city team in the Eastern Metroplex. And then you can see our staff mission for managing new growth and enhancing neighborhoods. Those are not staff wrote it for the staff. That is what City Council voted on to say, we want these to be your mission, okay? The next slide is polishing this up. Not trying to remove any of those vision statements, but build upon them. So we've got unified council priority outcomes. Could we come up with somewhere, and I don't know what it might end up being, are there 5 priority outcomes? Are there 10? Are there 11? Are there 9? Whatever. We need to come up with some list of priority outcomes. You want a city that has affordable housing. You want a city that has a high degree of public safety. Whatever those key outcomes are, let's then make sure that the way they're phrased, the way they're stated, are things that all 5 elected officials can say, yes, I agree that those are our priority outcomes, and they're stated in ways, each of those, in ways that all 5 elected officials are comfortable with. So you might have priority outcome A, very first one. Okay, you state the priority outcome. Again, whatever it might be, we want to have a safe community. What are the goals necessary to achieve that priority outcome that can be measured or milestone, right? We want to complete building fire station number 3 by such and such date. We want to complete such and such training for our firefighters by such date. Those are things that we can measure. We might have some objectives that could then get a little bit more fine grained. Some of those priority outcomes would be things that are just, what you want to see for your city, right? And we would encourage a lot of thinking about that so that you are guiding staff and telling us where you want us to go. The objectives, okay, now we're getting down to, well, staff really needs to help with those, right? Because those are going to be each step along the way. So if you go to the next slide, here's sort of what we're thinking. Here's a quick initial presentation. Now, here's the challenge. Is that sufficiently okay for, and I'm asking, for city staff to give it a shot? So Omira is the lucky winner of this assignment, And so she'll be guiding your strategic plan. Her and Mark Mills have been working on ideas for it already. And what we would suggest is, if you go all the way back to the council vision and goal statements that we started with, keep going. There you go. Up. On that one right there, what we're saying is, let's give O'Mara a chance to go through this and see if she can get you at least a starting point for somewhere between 5 to 10 overall statements. She might blend in your vision statement a little bit, might blend in some of those materials that you've already adopted, but not staff trying to, put the finger on the scale and say, well, you have to do this, but just trying to get you started with something that looks like you've got something from last time around to build on. We would bring you, again, 5 to 10 priority outcomes. Of those 5 to 10 priority outcomes that we bring you, you'd be able to look at them and say, well, gosh, I don't think you got that right at all, or I love that one, or you left one off, or I hate that one, delete that one, whatever all that might be. You'll give us all your feedback, and if I go back to the schedule, we think we can get that draft to you on February the 4th. That gives us a chance for you guys to review it, edit it, get us some thoughts back. I noted that as February the 14th. We would edit again, get some priority outcomes back out to council, and try to have that round of feedback with you. So think of that as, we're going to let O'Mara give it a shot to see how close she can get on a top 10 list, maybe a top 7, whatever we come up with. You'll have a chance to edit it. You'll see it again. But all of this helps us get to your February 28th workshop on the strategic plan, where we hope that if we know enough about your priorities ahead of the meeting, that staff can be effective giving you some information and data at the meeting that helps your decision-making process. And that helps us build the agenda for it and helps us make sure that we're sort of on target and spending your time wisely on that February 28th meeting. Obviously, the gap between February 28th and April the 4th, that gives staff a chance to retool, rework, readjust, make sure that we're on the right page and going the direction you'd like us to go. And then on the draft complete document going to council, depending on how close we got on April the 4th, we'll show you something on April the 11th, include whatever feedback we need there. And then voting on it is just a matter of how quickly you want to vote on it and whether or not we've hit the mark with the draft material that we put together for you. So that's the basic idea. I didn't want to embark on O'Mara giving a shot to come up with unified priority outcomes without chatting with you first. And so, Mayor, I'm just anxious to get some council feedback on using this process for the strategic plan, and I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you. It looks like what we're attempting to do is to individually reach out with O'Mara between now and our workshop number 1. Council, those dates, they're not hard dates, but they're just target dates, including our city council vote on April the 22nd. So what I would ask you to do is check your calendars to make sure that, that schedule works. If it doesn't, then we need to let staff know kind of immediately. But are you good with the process? That would be the second question I'd have for you. So is there anybody who wants to address that?
I do like the idea of kind of boiling down our individual, goals and objectives into something that's kind of more cohesive that we can all get behind together, maybe accomplish more specific things as opposed to kind of sending staff on a lot of different areas. I do have some scheduling concerns with some of the plan here, but we can discuss that offline potentially.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm glad to see that this is going to, because the strategic plan for the next 1, 2, 3 years is very important, and I think it does need to be a workshop, which you've proposed, where we have plenty of time to discuss those priorities. I also, when I think about the large-scale projects and I think about our capital plan, I want to make sure that we have a conversation earlier than later about the feasibility, the finances, the financial models that are accompanied. I'm not asking for that fine detail we get right before we're going to go into a CO, but a level of feedback from staff on this is manageable versus it's not manageable, or you may have to borrow money, or is number one really number one, or should we focus on number 8?
We're happy to do so.
Okay. Anyone else?
So I can just meet with Omira about my, what?
Yeah, so what
Here's
I would
my
say,
points.
yeah, absolutely. What I would say to any elected official is use the time between now and February 4th. If you're thinking, gosh, I kind of wish I could edit what we had from May of '24, right? Then, by golly, yes, I want you to sit down with Omira and let her know that. Meanwhile, Omira will be working on trying to, as we said, sort of fuse those together so she can see, okay, did we have enough overlap where it's going to be pretty easy and straightforward to come up with a top 7 or a top 8 or a whatever, or does it look problematic? And I think we could probably get there with a draft. Again, not that we would bring forward as a staff recommendation. We'd just be bringing it forward, hopefully on February the 4th, as, hey, this is an attempt, and we need your feedback on it, because all we're going to try to do is fuse those statements together, and we'll let you look at the draft and see what you think of it.
Okay. Good? Yep. All right. Let's attempt to do that. Our next item on the agenda is discuss comprehensive safety action plan. Our city engineer, Chris Knapp.
So, council and mayor, I'm going to bring to you a quick update of the Safe Streets for All. Okay, back in October, we came before you. Raylan's doing a lot of this legwork too, getting this together. But we came to you and got Kimberly Horn to come and do a Safe Street for Grants simulation of data and information. As you know, as we're trying to get grants, we got to formulate and collect data to say, okay, when the state sees a grant, they just don't see it as a wish list on ours, that there's some factual data supporting this. So this is what this is going to be about. Today is not looking for money. I'm not looking for approval. This is just information, just a quick update of where we're at. So the Safe Streets, as you know, there's a grant of $5 billion over 5 years. And each year, just a small history lesson, back in '23 when I first got here, we tried to go get sidewalk, because this is not just sidewalks, it's safe streets. But we tried to get, connect the sidewalks from 148 to just north of Soul Man's Barbecue, that curve. We have a gap in there. We tried to get that. We were unsuccessful. So it's just a competition game. So this is part of that, getting the information. So safety action plan in place for eligible for implementation funding. Eligible requirements must be met for the safety action plan to qualify. So involving all that, Kimberly Horn's facilitating a great deal of this. And we have an online engagement. We have a website that is online. That's access to the public. It's active right now. And they can do comment through a survey and provide information from there. So it's not the most information wins. So it's just factual data taking from everyone. In-person engagement, there's pop-up meetings, just as we had Downtown Market in February, Chamber Luncheon, Taco Fest, others. We capitalize on those type of activities to get engagement from the public. Back here a little bit, this Vision Zero Task Force. This is a vision and a commitment from TxDOT that's come around. They have a goal of having a vision of 0 accidents. That's their commitment. So I've been in the industry for a long time, and I had to come up with a safety goal. So we were going to have a goal of only 12 people were going to get hurt. and you get thinking about that, if you have that kind of mentality, then you're accepting 12 people to get hurt. Now, which 12 of us are going to elect to get hurt to meet that goal? So as you can see over time, times have changed. Now the goals, everybody's picking their person, I can see. So you can see over time, the times have changed to have a goal of 0. And so TxDOT's taking that same philosophy. Here's the homepage of the website, and there's a QR code that you want to jump in on there. There's that Vision Zero, and they're talking about it. And I won't go through this reading word for word, but I think you get the task that this website's providing. The funding opportunities, the Safe Street for All Implementation Grant 25-26 funding cycles, the Transportation Alternative Grant. You can see it's currently open, and that's why we're getting the information going from there. The COG Mobility Grant, the RAISE Grant, these are all funding sources that we can do. So as we're moving forward and where we're at today and where we're going to see what you can see what's in the future, the next steps, we just had a meeting with all the directors and the key city staff, with Kimberly Horn, and getting this information and collecting accidents, taking police data, taking traffic studies and things of that. Where are the most accidents? Because this is for safe streets, not just where can we put a sidewalk. I want to make sure we distinguish. They can go in combination with each other. Do not get me wrong. So in April, we're going to be closing the online surveys from the website, summarizing, and then we'll have a meeting on that, lunching with the Chamber of Commerce, and as you can see, the steps going through there. When we get to the end, you're looking around June to August that we'll wrap this up and bring it back to you as to what the summarization of the results come out of the report, and kind of tell you where are the priorities, where the hot spots are as far as accidents, and where our best funding opportunities from a grant perspective. So the grants like to see these packages put together where there's some summarization put in, some data behind it to validate that ours score higher than another city's. So they have to do that comparison when they start allocating funds across all the regions. So that's a quick update on that.
So, again, council, in an 1873 community, a lot of our neighborhoods don't currently have the sidewalks. Any of the new development, it does because it complies with the ordinances, but this one is, you need to warrant the sidewalk. And so we want to make sure that we have all the data so that we qualify and score the highest that we can so that we're awarded the grants. Anybody have any questions, comments? Nope. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is consent agenda. We may consider all of these items at once. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, District 3, a second from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 5, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda are to receive housing monthly reports and also our fire department monthly reports. If you would, staff, please, council, please reach out to staff on those two. At this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.071, consultation with attorneys. Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. Section 551.074, personnel matters. And Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations. We are now in executive session. We are going to reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session. Do we have any motions?
Motion to approve resolution number 2207.
We have a motion, and we have a second. We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, a second from Donna Renee Anderson, District 2, to approve Resolution 2207 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote. Huh? You voted nay? To not, to? On the 2207? Okay, so the vote's 3-1.
He hasn't said, he didn't adjourn?
Yes, oh, adjourn, sorry.